is the second half of the lesson for Handout 1A. On the back side, they talk about finding some x and y intercepts. So let's practice that. So I got a couple problems to try here. So when we try to find intercepts, what an intercept is, and if I just sketch a little coordinate plane real fast, here's an x-axis. The intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So that's the x-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, maybe down here. And those are intercepts. And then if we had those 2 points, we could draw a line between them. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're going to find where it crosses the x-axis and where it crosses the y-axis. So the way we do that is if I want to find the x-intercept, I'm going to set y equal to 0. So if I set y equal to 0, this term cancels out. So I just have 1/2 x equals 4. Well, you just multiply by the reciprocal, by 2 over 1, and that'll cancel out the 2's. So you're just left with x is 8. So there it is, x equals 8, or you could write that as 8, 0. So either of those two answers would work for that x-intercept. For the y-intercept, you're just going to end up setting x equal to 0. So when we do that, we end up just with a negative 4y equals 4. So we'll go ahead and divide by negative 4 on both sides. So we're left with y equals negative 1. So we take that negative 1, and then we can write that either just as y equals negative 1, or we could write that as an ordered pair, 0, negative 1. So either of those two answers would suffice for us. Well, let's take a look at the next problem. It's just like the first, and so all it is without the fraction. So we just are going to find that x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. So see, it goes really fast if you set up your two problems at the same time. Negative 2x equals 12 for the x-intercept. Y-intercept is 3y equals 12. So you're going to just go ahead and do some opposite operations to get x by itself there and get y by itself over on this other side. So x is negative 6 and y equals 4. So those are the two intercepts. So we can use those to graph on the second graphing problem, but on this first one is set up for the slope and y-intercept. See, the y-intercept is when we set x equal to 0, and then we're left with y is less than or equal to 2. So that's the y-intercept. This number right here represents our y-intercept. And so I plot that point first. So I go up 2 spaces and put the dot. And then I use the slope. So this is my slope. The slope represents the rise to the run, negative 1 over 3. This tells me to go down, because I have to go in the y direction first. Down 1, and then I'm going to go right 3 spaces. So I go down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. Or I could also go up 1, positive 1 over negative 3. Up and then to the left. Up 1, left 3. Up 1, left 3. That gets me on that same exact line. And from that point, I can just draw a line between those points. And that's what it would look like. Now, I had to be careful. Before I drew the line, I should have looked at that inequality sign. And it says it's a solid line because it equals. And so I did do that right, but I also need to shade. See, positive y is less. Less means smaller. So less means smaller y's. And so when I go to smaller y's, I'm going down. So I end up shading in this direction. And so that's what I'll end up doing here. Looking at our next one, we've got a xy-intercept problem. So here's how I'll set it up. 2x is less than 4. So when I divide by 2, I end up with x is less than 2. So you're just going to go on the x-axis to positive 2. And then over here we have negative 4y is less than 4. So when you divide by negative 4, a couple things happen. We got y now is greater than negative 1. So we go down 1 space, put a dot there. Y is greater, so we'll talk about that in just a moment, and we can go ahead and sketch the curve or the line through those points. So I drew a dashed line because the inequality sign does not say equal to, so that means the points on the line are not equal to. But the x values need to be smaller than the numbers on the line, smaller than 2 in this case here, smaller than the number over here, and that means I'm going to draw the arrows to the right. I'm sorry, actually I messed up on that, so let's fix that real quick. So less means smaller, so we're going to draw the arrows to the left. Now the y value, this should mirror what I had said on this other side, so it should be shading above. Let's see if it does. Y's are greater than -1. Greater means above, so yes, that does match. And so that's where I would end up shading. He's up above that line. The next two problems are not inequalities, so we just draw lines. So y equals -x plus 2. So again, a slope-intercept form. So here's my y-intercept. So I'm going to go up 2 spaces, just like I did on this last one up here. But now I've got a slope of -1. And so I'm going to treat that as -1 over +1. So that means I'm going down to the right again. Down to the right. So I can do that a few times. You could also go the other direction, up, and then to the left. And then from that point, we've got some points. We could draw the line through. So the nice thing about this slope-intercept form is you get lots of points. XY-intercept, you only get 2 points, and if they're really close together, it's hard to really see what the slope of the graph is. So that's where that method sometimes is tougher. Like on this one here, we'd have a fraction for one of the for the x-intercept. And so it sometimes is easier just to get the y term by itself. That's what I'm going to do on this problem. I got -y equals -2x plus 5. I just moved the 2x to the other side. So when you move something to the other side, it just switches signs. Notice how it's positive over here. It becomes negative on the other side because I subtracted it from both sides. Well, it's going to become positive real soon because I'm going to end up dividing by -1 to cancel out that minus sign in front of the y. And so now I have a positive y equals 2x minus 5. So I go down 5 spaces on the y-axis and then go up 2 spaces. So notice this is like 2 over 1. So up 2 over 1 to the right. Up 2, 1 to the right. Do that a few times, you get on that line. And so from that point, we can go ahead and just draw that line through those points. And that's what my line would look like, a quick sketch of that line. Well, those are some of the problems that you'll see on tonight's homework. Good luck.